The idea that we have no control over our health is really upsetting to me. It's really upsetting to me. Do what you can. The things that you have control over, let's control. And then and things you don't have control over, accept that you can't, right? I turned 50, y'all, and I started a podcast.
Really, age is just a number. It comes down to how we choose to live and the choices we make in our life, and those things accumulate.
Don't let the programming of life keep you from doing things every single day that make you happy.
When we feel good, it's easy to think good.
Life is not happening to you. You are your life. You are happening to your life. Hey, and welcome to the podcast. We're going to get into it today. I have been really focusing a lot lately on health and wellness and health optimization, and I think most importantly, disease prevention. And it's really become the major focus of what I spend most of my days and my life doing. And I'm fascinated by it all. I'm a perpetual student. I'm constantly reading and exploring and learning and considering and contemplating and practicing and being curious about all the different things that affect our health, wellness, again, longevity, disease prevention. My boyfriend mentioned to me, I think only about half jokingly the other day, that I have addiction to health and wellness. And it really got me thinking about what is the cause of my quest and what motivates and perpetuates my focus on this topic and all the things I do in my life. And I guess that's something to be examined, and that is something I'm going to consider. But on the other hand, I also thought, gosh, I really would love to be inside of a community where, these types of topics were being discussed. And I do the best I can through following certain people on Instagram, which I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, on who I follow and who I'm being influenced by. But I thought, why don't I talk to you, my loyal followers, my listeners, my community here that I'm building on A Good Day to Die. I think it really all starts with that idea of making every day a good day to die. And I have that focus, I believe, simply because both of my parents died an early death, both of pancreatic cancer. My mom she was 65. She just turned 65. And my dad, he was 49 when he died of pancreatic cancer. So I think, and my mom died, 8 years ago. So I think, my background, my whole focus on disease prevention and health optimization started prior to that. Probably when I was about 35, I started having some GI issues. And at the time I was living in St. Louis, Missouri for work, developing outpatient surgery centers. And I had come from being born and raised in California, and everything that, the West Coast offers, especially in California, in regards to alternative medicine, holistic medicine, organic, yoga, whole foods, all of the things. And then I moved to St. Louis for my career, and I all of a sudden quickly realized that in Middle America, you did not have access to those things. I had to drive 20 miles, or maybe it wasn't 20 miles, maybe it was 15 miles or something, whatever, a half an hour just to get to a Whole Foods. There was one Whole Foods at the time in St. Louis. I think this was 2007. And it was really, really challenging for me to find a yoga studio. I had been doing yoga in California before I moved to St. Louis. And it was challenging to find a yoga studio. And then I had some GI issues. And I went to go see a physician, a GI specialist, and did a bunch of tests. And I think I had pondered whether it might have been celiac disease or whatever. And they did a celiac test. They did all these tests, all these whatever. And she came back to me and said, I don't know if it was a man or a woman, and said, we can't find anything. You're fine. Nothing's wrong. I thought to myself, no, something is wrong. Something is wrong. Like, these symptoms I'm experiencing are not born of nothingness. This is not happening in a vacuum. And it's like, I think that was the one of the biggest aha moments in my life, where I had this authority figure, this physician, this trained specialist physician that I had gone to, that I had entrusted with my health and done all the requisite testing, for them to just look at me and tell me nothing was wrong. And I knew in my inner being, I had the inner knowing that something was wrong. And I think in that moment, I just realized, you guys suck. This isn't the kind of medicine that is going to help me. And so I did what I needed to do. I changed my eating habits. I just cut out everything that I possibly could. And I think what I ended up doing was healing my gut. I had, I never did find out what was going on at the time, but luckily it was temporary. And through, very mindful eating and probably stress reduction and lowering my alcohol intake and sleeping better and all of these things that I intuitively took upon myself to do, I moved through that, and the symptoms went away, and I'm fine. But being in St. Louis and having that experience with the physician and not having access to kind of the health and wellness lifestyle that I had experienced being from California, just really made me realize that this wasn't accessible to every person. So a whole nother story of how then I quit my job and I moved to Arizona and started a integrative medical center. That will be a story for another day. But I think that's when my personal wellness journey started, when I was about 35 years old, and that experience happened. And I just really realized that, at 35, I am definitely still evolving and changing and growing and expanding. But my cells and my DNA and, the bits that I was born with are not, the physical bits that I was born with are not necessarily going to be getting younger or better or stronger or healthier. I felt in that moment, or in that space, that I had the ability to have some effect on whether it was pausing the age decline or improving, my body, my system, my brain to start working better. So there was that's what happened at that point. Fast forward to, and mind you, at this point I had already lost my father, many, many years prior, to pancreatic cancer. And then fast forward about, 8 years later, when I was 43, my mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and 4 months later, she was dead. And it was really frustrating for me at the time. I was really, really confused and really, really angry because, when my dad was diagnosed and passed away from cancer, it was kind of like, okay, it's not that it made sense, but like, my dad was a smoker all his life. I would consider him probably an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic and a functioning alcoholic. And, we did not have the best diet whatsoever at all. And a lot of stress and no self-care, absolutely no self-care. So him dying, albeit it was a very, very young age, it's a little bit understandable just because his lifestyle and, just his level of joy and happiness just wasn't really there. When my mom got sick, I was really confused and really upset because my mom lived very, in what I thought was a very normal lifestyle. She had access to good, healthy food. She, was able to take walks or work out at her, at her desire on a daily or multi time per week basis. She had a comfortable home. She was safe. She was in a loving relationship. She was a devout Christian and found a lot of comfort and connection with her church community and connection to her higher power. She had a close circle of girlfriends that she absolutely loved, and she had grandchildren that she absolutely adored. So it really just didn't make sense to me why she was getting pancreatic cancer. My mom was what I didn't say was she was also what I would say a quote unquote a normal weight. And she had no other health issues except she had self-reported and was diagnosed with depression. I think she was on an antidepressant. But that's it. And so, with her, and I wanted to say that I remember when she was really, really sick, and I was having dinner with my stepdad, and a couple of really close family friends to my parents, and who were in the healthcare field. The husband was a doctor, and the wife was either a dietitian or a nutritionist or some kind of nurse. And I remember having this conversation about, why is mom sick? I don't understand why she's sick. And this is ridiculous. There's got to be a reason. We got to find a doctor that can help us understand what is causing the cancer and fix it. The treatment that she's choosing is possibly going to reduce the tumor or buy some time, but it's not solving the problem. That was my whole thing, was we need to solve the problem. Why does she have cancer in the first place? And I remember my mom's friend just looking at me like just with pity and just looking at me like, Joanna, there is no reason. This is just it's God's plan. It's just fate. It's just bad luck. It's just genes, bad, whatever. And I was like, I remember being so upset at this idea. And I think in retrospect, it was so upsetting to me because the idea that we have no control over our destiny, our health, our experience, to be able to live into old age, to maintain a healthy brain and a healthy body, and to live well into our 80s and 90s with all of our faculties and all of our strength, is really upsetting to me. It's really upsetting to me. And it doesn't mean I'm right, and it doesn't mean I'm wrong. I think that this is something I'm looking at as far as the idea of not having any control, or just the idea that we might not have control, and how upsetting that is. To me, I think that explains why I, in my life now, am trying to have control, some control, in AA, there's part of their mantra is to accept the things you cannot change, but to change the things you have control over and accept the things you cannot change, right? Do what you can. The things that you have control over, let's control. And then and things you don't have control over, accept that you can't, right? So fast forward to now, and really fast forward to my whole life starting, in my mid-30s up until now, which is now 16 years later. I think that there has been a buildup and a momentum in my life towards this focus on, health and well-being, and I just would like to share. I have a whole list of things that I focus on. It's too many to talk. We're going to call this part one. Part one. And I just want to focus on a couple of things that I'm really obsessed with right now. So I'm trying to think so I have a kind of a love affair with integrative and functional medical doctors. So these are physicians. They could be MDs, they could be DOs, so medical doctors, doctors of osteotherapy, or they could be naturopathic medicine doctors, NMDs, or they can be nurse practitioners, but they have extensive training in functional medicine. So this is as opposed to allopathic medicine. Possibly they have a layer of naturopathic of allopathic, which is traditional medicine, medical school, and then they layer it on with integrative and functional medical training. So this would be studying nutrition, would have thought, studying detoxification pathways, studying the whole hormone symphony of hormones in humans, so many other aspects of our health that they can study, mind body therapies, stress reduction, meditation, yoga, all of these things. And so I follow them on Instagram and I read their books and I purchase their webinars and I listen to their podcasts. And I'm just constantly filling my mind with all of these ideas. And so my latest physician obsession is Dr. Courtney Hunt. And everything that I talk about in this recording today, I'm going to put in the show notes so you can look them up and find them yourself. But Dr. Courtney Hunt is actually here in Phoenix, Arizona, and she was originally trained as a OBGYN. That is a doctor who takes care of women, reproductive, health, up to and including delivering babies. So she did that for many, many years. And then she had her own health crisis. I believe it was an autoimmune condition, and she just wasn't getting the answers or the help she needed from allopathic medicine. So she did the research and she figured out how to heal herself. And once that transformation came about, she just decided that was her mission in life, was to, teach others that the power and the information is all inside of ourselves. And she is fascinating. Her main focus is it's like a triad. It's vitamin D from the sun, ketosis, which is a state. She calls it a metabolic state. But ketosis is a state that your body gets in basically by limiting carbohydrates. And you're basically burning fat to use as fuel as opposed to glucose, right? Our body can use sugar or glucose to create energy, or fat. And you're in a state of ketosis. So fasting, so vitamin D, which we'll talk about in a second, ketosis and fasting, and all of this to affect the third thing, which is autophagy, which is basically your body's ability to clean itself or detoxify. So autophagy means self-eating. It's where your body, eats all the dead cells. Usually this happens in a healthy human. It usually happens overnight while we're sleeping. And basically, many of us muck up that system through our lifestyle choices, through what we eat, through stress, through lack of sleep, lack of sunlight, the crap we eat. And so we don't get into this detox or cleaning cycle in the night. So all of that builds up and in her opinion, that's what eventually causes disease, the body to break down and to have disease. So my friend Brittany told me about this doctor because she knows I'm really interested in integrative doctors. And she's like, oh yeah, have you heard of Dr. Courtney Hunt? And I'm like, no. So I started following her on Instagram, and Dr. Courtney Hunt does a live Instagram 15 minutes, 20 minutes every single day on her Instagram while she's hiking Camelback Mountain. So she hikes Camelback Mountain every morning at 5:30 in the morning. It's pitch dark. And she does a live Instagram, and she does more than one live because she has her main Instagram page, and then she has a couple of private groups that she does where she's teaching the particular group. She's taken them through 30 days of a particular subject. For example, I joined her light mitochondria and DNA private group. I think we've got about a week left. So it was about 3 weeks ago I joined. And in conjunction with that, I watched her webinar with the same subject and title, light mitochondria and DNA. And so every day I listen to her while I'm walking the dogs. I listen to her educating on a different chunk of this information every single day of 30 days. And it's been a focus on the light from the sun, and how from the moment the sun comes up over the horizon, you start getting red light. And then as the sun goes up in the horizon, you start getting the orange and the yellow and the green and the blue and the indigo and the violet, and then the UV window, and and then it goes down in a decrescendo at the end of the day to sunset. Learning about how we have this window in where we are in the southern hemisphere. I mean, we're in the northern hemisphere, but we're south in Phoenix, that we have a very unique ability to still have a vitamin D window, albeit it's very short. Like right now, it goes from about 10:20 a.m. till maybe close to 2. So it's less than 4 hours right now as we're going in towards the winter solstice. The winter solstice, of course, is December 21st. And then going to January, the days are going to get longer and longer, and the UV window will get wider and wider open. But right now, for example, it's November, 26. What is it? 26. November 26. The sun comes up at like 7 a.m. and it's not until like 10:15 until you have your UV window where you're able to get vitamin D from the sun. So the focus, so we're very lucky because according to Dr. Hunt, and also what I believe, is that the vitamin D, is so important to regulate our immune system. We know this. Functional medicine doctors, integrative medicine doctors, naturopathic medicine doctors all over the world, and anybody who really studies and knows the literature knows how important vitamin D is from the sun. The vitamin D from the sun the sunlight, UV sunlight, mixes with our cholesterol in our skin and turns it into vitamin D. And then that sets off a whole cascade of mechanisms in our body, including the modulation and regulation of our immune system. Obviously, sunlight is a very controversial subject because we have been drilled. It has been drilled into our brains for how many years? 40 years, how sun is bad for you. You must not be in the sun. Skin cancer will kill you. And skin cancer will kill you, right? But she puts forth, and I also believe that our lack of sunlight, and therefore vitamin D from the sun, has impacted the way our bodies can, our body's immune system can work properly. So one of the things I've done is I've really been focusing on getting sunlight in the appropriate proportion for me and for this time of year and for what my goals are. So, for example, she believes it's really important to get the red light first. First of all, red light is available from the time the sun is over the horizon till it goes below the horizon. So all day is available red light. But right when it first comes over the horizon, you get just the red light. It's just the red light. And there's no UV, there's no damaging rays going on. So it's important to get that red light first thing in the morning, just to go out even for 30 seconds. She says, go out for 30 seconds when you first get up, because that signals to your body to stop producing melatonin and start producing serotonin and dopamine for the day. It gets us going, turns off melatonin, turns on these other, mechanisms in our brains. We start our day. Also very important to get out there and get the red light on the decrescendo at the end of the day as the sun's going down. That indicates to your body to start producing melatonin, And then we need to follow up with, when we're in our homes, once the sun has gone down, to keep the lights low, not look at bright screens, bright TVs, our phones, our computers. Keep the lights low in the home. We don't want to disturb the melatonin production, so that we, again, it's all a setup for proper sleep. Because what happens when we sleep? That's when autophagy is supposed to happen. So, and she's also really, really focused on helping people that are really, really sick. So her main focus are people that are coming to her with autoimmune conditions, possibly cancer, multiple sclerosis. All kinds of different diseases, and obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease. And she's helping people get to a state of health. And so part of that is really focusing on ketosis as well. It's really important to get rid of all the carbs and just allow your body to burn fat for fuel, which is such a much more efficient fuel. So I haven't gotten into the ketosis part yet. I am, comparatively extremely, extremely healthy compared to the type of people she's trying to help. For example, I just got my lab test. I did an annual physical. I do an annual physical every year with my integrative doctor, and my vitamin D level. Does your doctor even test your vitamin D? Do you even know what your vitamin D level is? If you don't, you really, really need to. And then I would really recommend working on strengthening your vitamin D level. First through sunlight, and if you can't do it through sunlight, then supplementing with a good vitamin D, K2. You want to have a K2, vitamin K2, along with your vitamin D. You need those together. That's another story, but just don't just take vitamin D, take it with the K2. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, I got my lab test result back on my vitamin D, and it's 83. 83. That is, not only is that higher than, I guarantee you, anybody listening to this recording right now, it's the highest mine has ever been. And, I definitely spend a lot of time outdoors. I walk I'm out with the dogs every morning. I'm out, I have the privilege of not having to go to work. So I'm out, during the day doing different things. For the last month or so, I have been doing dedicated sun time in the UV window, according to my skin type, according to the amount of clothes I have on, according to what time of year it is. I use an app called D-Minder, which again, I'll put in the show notes. It's free, which is amazing. It's called D-Minder, and you plug in all of those things, where you are in the world, your skin tone, your color, the time of year, obviously, if there's clouds in the sky, and how much clothes you have or coverage you have, and it will tell you exactly how many minutes you can safely be in the sun during the UV window, to avoid obviously burning or skin damage or, cancer prevention. So this isn't about just like laying out in the sun willy-nilly and like getting as much sun as possible. It's really about tiny little baby steps every single day. So that the idea is that by the end of the summer that you've got your highest amount of vitamin D. So for example, my test I took was the beginning of November. I had 83. So I am like full. I've gotten full. My vitamin D is full. And now the vitamin D, the UV window every day is getting smaller, 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 smaller. And then it's still going to be small, 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 until like February, March or whatever. And then it's going to be bigger and I'll have more opportunity to produce vitamin D from the sun. And that's the idea, is you do little tiny, tiny, tiny bits every day, starting in the spring. And what's really difficult is for people who live further north than Phoenix. Because if you live north of Phoenix, you're not getting any UV window at this point. And everybody in Canada, there's no UV window anymore. You can't make vitamin D from the sun anymore in November, December, January in Canada, in the northern United States. You just can't even do it. So if you haven't built up your vitamin D in the summer so that you can, it's like what do you call it, squirrels, storing nuts for the winter. It's the same thing. It's like squirrels. You got to store it all up in the summer so that in the winter you can eat those nuts. And, and then it gets dwindled down, and then the spring you start building it up again. So I'm fascinated with this vitamin D situation. I'm convinced it's what's keeping me, I'm convinced it's one of the things that's helping me, stay healthy, and my immune system. I feel invincible really right now. I do. I feel so strong. I don't worry about getting sick. I don't worry about being exposed to people, going anywhere, doing the things I want to do. So the vitamin D has been really, really interesting. And I really highly recommend that if you're dealing with, not if you're dealing, just I think the easiest, most inexpensive thing anybody can do for their health, because basically it's free, is to download the D-Minder app and get good sun exposure, tiny little increments, and build up your vitamin D and modulate your immune system. For me, I don't want to get the flu. I don't want to get a cold just because that's annoying. But you know what I really don't want? I really don't want to get pancreatic cancer. I really don't want to get pancreatic cancer. And, I don't think just having a high vitamin D level is going to prevent me from getting cancer, but I think it's going to help. I think it's going to help. The other thing that I've really been focused on a lot lately is my diet. So for 7 years, I was a vegetarian. I occasionally would eat fish, maybe a couple times a month. When I'd go out to dinner, I would sometimes eat fish, but I was a pretty strict vegetarian. And then about a year and a half ago, I was really starting to have some kind of health concerns now I'm also going through menopause. Okay. So you've got like all kinds of moving parts. It's, it's really fun to be 50 and 51 and trying to like navigate, okay, what's going on with my body today, So, but I was starting to have, lethargy. I was taking naps. I'd gained 10 pounds. I just wasn't feeling good. I wasn't feeling strong. I didn't feel like I had good muscle tone. I mean, although I work out, all the time, I have a trainer, I do all kinds of other things. And it was just a general feeling of like, just that I wasn't thriving. You know what I mean? So, through the test with my doctor, and I have a integrative doctor, as I mentioned, that does my annual, and then I supplement my care team with a naturopathic doctor, and um, she really recommended. She said my thyroid was suffering, my hormones were changing, and she really, really recommended that I start eating more animal protein. And so about a year ago, I started eating more animal protein, just a little bit at first. At this point, a year later, I'm a full omnivore. I eat everything. Um, and also I take thyroid medication, which I'm not really excited about. And I would eventually like to get off. And you're not supposed to be able to get off it. Once you start thyroid medication, you're supposed that's the rest of your life. But Dr. Courtney Hunt was also taking thyroid medication, and she weaned herself off of it. So that's going to be one of my goals. But I am taking a thyroid medication. I am taking a testosterone injection, I think 3 times a year. My testosterone went down a little low, and that has helped with the energy. But I've also started eating a lot more animal protein, and it's really been, I feel like, life-changing. And then 2 months ago, my naturopathic doctor launched this. It's basically a weight loss plan. It was September to October, October to November, November to December. So it was 3 months. It's going to end in about 3 weeks. And she invited all of her patients to join this. It's called Lose It for Life weight loss program. And I just saw it really as an opportunity to be part of a group of people that were all going to be focused on their eating and their health, and even though it's lose it for life, you're going to lose some weight. Really, she said it's really a lifestyle. She recommended everyone go on the Paleo diet. So that's what my boyfriend and I have been doing. And I'm so grateful. I mentioned this to my boyfriend. I'm like, hey, my doctor's suggesting we all go on the Paleo diet for 3 months and do this, lose it for life thing. And I'm like, you want to do it? He's like, sure, let's do it. I did paleo 10 years ago, and I had a lot of great results, felt great, looked great. So basically so we've been doing the paleo diet for the last 2 months, a little bit more than 2 months. And for those of you who don't know what paleo is, it's basically you eat veggies and protein, veggies and animal protein. You can also eat fruit. You can also eat nuts and seeds. You can also do sweet potatoes. And then everything outside of that, so dairy, bread, rice, grains, beans, all of those things, those are not on the paleo diet. But the paleo principles state that eat within the paleo guidelines for 85% of the time, and 15% of the time you can eat things that are not on the paleo guidelines, right? So 85% of the time, we're just eating vegetables, animal protein, nuts, seeds, fruit. And 15% of the time, like I'll include a couple times a week, I'll have some white rice. A couple times a week, or once a week, maybe we'll have white potatoes. We'll go out once a week or twice a week, and maybe one of those times I'll have pasta. Maybe once every 2 weeks I'll have pizza. Maybe once every 10 days or 2 weeks I'll have a burrito which has a tortilla. We've drastically reduced alcohol. So now we typically will only have any alcohol if we go out to dinner, and that is typically once or twice a week. Other than that, there's no alcohol. So and no sugar. I mean, no cookies, no bread, no cake, no ice cream, nothing. Literally, we have a bag of dark chocolate mini peanut butter cups from Trader Joe's. And like last night, I had 2 mini chocolate peanut butter cups, dark chocolate with peanut butter from those little tiny ones. And that is the sugar I had yesterday. Like, that's it. Um, so it's been really challenging. For 2 months, we have cooked every single meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day for now going on probably 10 weeks. And we used to go out every single, 5, 6 nights a week for dinner. So it's been amazing because what that means is we're not eating any processed foods. We're not eating any canola oil or safflower oil. We're not eating excess salt. We're not eating any dietary sugar. We're, no gluten, no alcohol. I mean, minimal alcohol. It's been an incredible shift. And I'm really excited because I feel like it's so important to allow my body to not struggle to digest food or to process toxins or to have an insulin response constantly to the sugar and the carbs, just, giving your body a break from all of that and allowing, inflammation to go down in your body and those disease processes to calm down. It's like the greatest gift I've ever given to myself. I don't know who I shared this with recently, that these last few months, not only just with the paleo, but I was doing some experimentation with no alcohol in the middle of summer, early summer as well. Like these last 4 months of my life has been the lowest amount of alcohol intake I've had probably since I was 21. And it's, on one hand, that's kind of sad and shocking. And on the other hand, I'm just so proud of myself that I'm able to consciously make these decisions about, what I want for my life and what I don't want for my life. I'm really wanting to give my body what it needs and kind of remove the things that are not going to help my body be at its best. The side note to the paleo thing, I have lost 5 pounds, which I'm excited about. Again, it wasn't necessary, but God, if I didn't lose weight after doing all those changes, I would be like, what the hell is wrong? I thought maybe a little more would fall off, but I don't even care. It's not about the weight. It feels good though. It does feel good that, you can wear, like, your pants are just a little less tight around the waist. It just feels good, right? And it also makes the times that you go out or the times you have a treat just so enjoyable. And you don't take it for granted. You're not just mindlessly, unconsciously shoving food in your mouth. It's like, oh, I'm going to make all my meals and I'm going to know exactly what's in each meal. And, I'm going to have this protein. I'm going to have this, carbs from vegetables, and I'm going to have these healthy fats and these healthy oils and nourishing your body, right? And then when you go out and you have a treat, you're conscious, you're aware, you're in the moment, you're enjoying the taste, and you're not emotionally eating, like to eat to make yourself feel better about something. So it's been transformative. I mean, I cannot recommend it enough as a lifestyle. I don't plan on going back. Knowing that I can have 1 or 2 meals a week that, oh my God, I used to eat French fries 3 or 4 times a week. Had to be. I used to eat French fries a couple times a week, 3 times a week. With every time I would go out to dinner, I want this, and then I want a side of fries. I mean, just giving up the French fries and all that canola, dirty canola oil. Oh my gosh. So, but the other thing I wanted to say about the food plan that I've been on, the paleo thing, I'm also going to add another layer here. And this is where, I don't know, it might sound a little obsessive, or I don't know, or hyper focused, but listen, when you've got two parents who were literally gunned down by pancreatic cancer, you don't, mess around. Like, this stuff is real. Like, I really want to live and enjoy my magical life. And so I'm kind of raising the stakes, and I'm going to be starting this thing called a Prolon fasting mimicking diet, um, which is a fasting protocol designed by Dr. Victor Lungo. I think that's his right name. I'm going to put it in the show notes. He wrote a book. I should have that book with me right now. I have it in the living room. He wrote a book about his studies, all of his research and his studies showing what fasting, the history of fasting, and what fasting does to the human body, and why it's a critical component of the detoxification process in humans. And, fasting is part of every historical record of every people's from the time we've had written history. People periodically and regularly fasted. And the general layman's explanation for the benefits of occasional fasting, whether it's once a month or once a quarter or once a year or whatever. So this is not intermittent fasting. This is fasting. So it gives your body a chance to clean itself. So when you go into a fasting state, your body goes into autophagy, which is self-cleaning, self-eating mode. And it's one of the most important aspects of our body's ability to detoxify. If we can detoxify our body, then we get rid of the elements that are going to recycle in our body and eventually cause so much inflammation that it'll progress to a disease state, right? So the idea is we need these periodic times to allow our body to self-clean. Dr. Courtney Hunt likens it to turning on the dishwasher at night. We need to be able to turn on that dishwasher every single night and clean out our system. But if we're not doing it every night, if we're not in ketosis and we're not like in ketosis fasting, can we do it once a month? Can we do it once a quarter where we have an extended period of fasting time? So the Prolon fasting mimicking diet that this doctor has created, it's a 5-day fast, but you do get to eat some food. So it's a box that you have for the 5 days of food. It's like some vegetable soups, it's some nuts, some olives, some seed crackers, herbal tea, some supplements. That's basically it. That's basically all you eat for 5 days. I think it's like you're eating between 600 and 800 calories a day, but the foods that you're eating are scientifically designed to where your body, you haven't raised your glucose, you're not instigating an insulin response, and so your body believes it's in a fasting state, and it goes into autophagy. The entire goal of this Prolon fast is to get into autophagy and to do the cleaning for 5 days. So I did this like 2 years ago, and it was really, really hard. Because I was eating kind of normally, cheese and bread and pizza and bean and cheese burritos and rice and veggies because I was a vegetarian. So just carbing it up, carb. And I was drinking. So wine and just think wine and pizza. That was my diet. And then I tried to go on this 5-day fast so you have to cut out everything, no alcohol, no carbs, no cheese, no oil. I mean, nothing. So it was really, really hard. But I think now that I've been doing this paleo diet, and I've already cut out the alcohol and the carbs and all the sugar and all that, it's just going to be, I'm on the paleo, and then I'm going to just kick it up a notch for 5 days and do the Prolon fast. Again, for the sole purpose of autophagy, of self-cleaning, of turning my dishwasher on. Um, yeah, I mean, so those are the things I'm focused on right now. I'm excited. I feel good, but you know what? I want to feel amazing. Like I want to feel like I feel really good today. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm like, I'm pumped today. I've been dancing. I had my coffee in the morning. I had an amazing smoothie. I've been dancing in the bathroom, getting ready for this. I took the dog walk. I saw the morning sun. I got my red light. Um, and I really wanted to share this with you. And I mean, I've only gone over 2 of the 10 health and wellness things that I'm kind of obsessed with right now, because I just think we need to chunk it out. There's so much information. I wonder if I should tell you one more thing. I'm going to tell you one more thing because I'm obsessed. So I know a lot of people have Apple Watches, and but I'm kind of old. I don't know if it's old school. I don't know how long Fitbit has been around, but I am obsessed with my Fitbit, and I just got a new Fitbit. I get a new Fitbit like every year and a half, every 2 years, because they upgrade the technology and they come out with cuter styles. And I just got this one, and I'm so excited. Look at the home screen. It's all this pretty. Look at the pretty colors, so I can see exactly what time it is. I can see how much activity I've gotten already for the day. And this tracks everything. So this tracks my sleep. This tracks my menstrual cycle. This tracks my heart rate, my activity, my steps, my readiness score. It comes up with a readiness score. It tracks my weight. I have it hooked up to my scale. And I think when you measure progress, and you keep yourself accountable, that's when you can continue to have progress. Measurement, reassessment, and keep going. So I absolutely love my Fitbit. Now I did try a couple of different things. At one point, my boyfriend got really interested in the Whoop, and I wore the Whoop technology. It's a wristband, but it didn't have a watch face on the front, and I need a watch. And it also didn't track menstrual cycle, and I barely have any menstrual cycle anymore anyway. As I mentioned, I'm in menopause or perimenopause or almost paused of the menses. But so Fitbit to me has everything. But it doesn't have as much as the Apple Watch. For me, the Apple Watch is too much. I don't want to look at my text messages on here. I don't want to get phone calls. I don't want to use Apple Pay. I mean, I think it does have Apple Pay or not Apple Pay, but I don't want to do any of that. I just want a clock. I want to know what time it is. I want to know where my steps are. I want to know what my heartbeat is. I want to track this stuff. I'm obsessed with Fitbit. Okay, so I had an Apple Watch for a minute, years ago. Then I switched to Fitbit. Then I tried the Whoop, didn't love the Whoop. And then a lot of people were telling me about the OuraRing. See, this ring is an OuraRing. An OuraRing is basically like a Fitbit, but it's a ring. So this is measuring. It has little LED thingies in here, and it's reading my heart rate. It's reading my heart rate variability. It's taking my temperature, I think. I don't really know what it's doing. So then separately, I have an Oura. Okay, so listen, I wasn't planning on having both. But I wanted to try and see if the Oura Ring would be better, because I thought maybe I don't always want to wear this wristband, right? Maybe I want to wear my nice watch. I have a beautiful watch and I never wear it because I have my Fitbit on. So I thought, oh, I'll get the ring and then I can wear my nice watch. I mean, the Oura Ring is great. It tracks my activity. It tracks my heart rate. It tracks my sleep. It also predicts periods and things like that. And also does readiness score. So I think it does the same thing as the Fitbit. It really does. It doesn't tell me the time, obviously. And, I mean, that's a bit. So what I'm here to tell you is I am now the person who's wearing an Oura Ring and a Fitbit at the same time. And I compare. What did the Oura Ring say compared to the Fitbit say about my sleep last night? So that's me. That's real. but it's pretty cool. Like it tells me right now, like this is my sleep last night. It tells me how much REM, how much deep sleep, how much REM, how much restorative sleep, what was my sleeping heart rate, my readiness score. I love it. I'm so obsessed with this. So I love to track my health. I love to track all of it. My trainer, Tati, is really big on making sure we get our steps in every single day. So I think I'm gonna stop there, and I'm gonna do probably 2 or 3 more of these episodes to talk about what I'm passionate about. I would love to connect with you if you want to know more about this, or if we want to start a book club, not a book club, but like a book club for health and wellness ideas, or accountability circle, or just talk about things that you're learning or things that you're finding or your experiences. So shoot me an email, or, however, I guess that's the best way, or direct message on Instagram. The Instagram call sign is Good Day to Die. I think all spelled out. Good Day to Die. I'll also put that in the show notes. Let me just make sure what it is. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you're learning and what you're doing and how you're optimizing your health and preventing disease, and how you, like me, are making every day a good day to die.